Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. I'm Scott Sands, sitting in for Richard this morning. Iulia Mendel is joining me now. She is former press secretary to President Zelenskyy and author of the book, The Fight of Our Lives, My Time with Zelenskyy, Ukraine's Battle for Democracy and What It Means for the World. Iulia, it's great to see you again.
Scott, thank you for having me.
So this morning, an announcement of a major prisoner exchange between Russia and Ukraine. Do you think this is actually going to happen, and what does it mean moving the peace talks forward?
Well, up to now, it seems that the exchange of prisoners is, let's say, the solo only achievement that has been reached and has been confidently reached by the both sides, Ukraine and Russia, in Istanbul. And Ukraine stays optimistic, and this might be the biggest exchange of prisoners since large-scale invasion in 2022. But let me remind you that since Russia first invaded Ukraine in Donbass in 2014, Ukraine and Russia have conducted a lot of exchanges of prisoners. It's the matter that, there are more Ukrainians coming to Russian prisoners again because of the war that continues. But of course, we all stay hopeful and hope to see it happen, because Ukrainian office of the president thinks that the next stage of negotiations can happen only after the exchange of prisoners.
And will there actually be the next step in these peace talks? We've heard talks about a ceasefire coming, and Russia continues to strike inside Ukraine, and Ukraine is, as we've talked about, fighting for their lives.
Well, that's the question up to the God and perhaps to the devil, right? You never know what's going to happen next. As you saw, Ukraine launched the Peace Forum last year in June in Switzerland, and that was the promise for the second stage where Russia could have been present. And the plan was that the second stage of the Peace Forum would take place like in November 2024, but it never happened. So, of course, there is always a chance that the process will be disrupted. But what we see right now, there is a big push from Western countries. There is United European countries, not only European Union, but European, with the UK and France and Germany. And of course, the push from President Trump was the major one. I was talking to the office of the president recently, and the first thing that I've heard that we're going to continue the negotiations because the American administration is pushing us for this. So we really rely on our Western partners because we feel like they are the only ones who can help us guarantee that if we move forward with the peace process, then, perhaps Russia won't advance. But at the same time, the talks stay only the talks because Russia has not stopped its advance for a day or for an hour. And I must say that it's very complicated. As I mentioned in my book, The Fight of Our Lives, now, the peace process is very, very complicated, especially with two nations, where there is so much trauma and anger. But right now, if we are speaking about the ceasefire, it's very important that there is some kind of a document negotiated and signed by both sides that would suggest the technical details of how this ceasefire actually will work. So, for instance, who's going to monitor the violations? Turkey is suggesting itself, but also we know that there is OSCE, right, that has huge experience in this types of conflicts. Then what is going to be the punishment? Is there going to be the withdrawal of troops? How do we react if there is the violation? And without the document signed by both sides and agreed conditions of this ceasefire, I don't think that ceasefire is likely to happen. And let me finish. I'm sorry that I'm talking too much, but if this happens, then perhaps there will be a chance for negotiating something bigger, some bigger deal for the people. But right now, I must say the war continues as it was. And as we are talking right now, Odessa is recovering from Russian missile strikes. As I read the latest news, there were at least 2 Russian missiles that made hits in Odessa, and soon we will be counting wounded and I hope no dead people.
You've got a special insight into President Zelenskyy, and we all saw the heated confrontation with President Trump in the White House. I think the president is now saying that he recognizes that Vladimir Putin doesn't really want peace either. I think the rest of the world wants to see peace. Certainly the people of Ukraine want to see peace. How do we achieve that when both sides are making unreasonable demands for the ceasefire and for peace negotiations? Russia wants territory that they haven't even conquered yet. Ukraine doesn't want to give up any of your territory at all. And wants to join NATO, which will not be allowed to happen. The American support for continually sending money that we have not seen any accountability from Zelenskyy on is losing taste with most Americans today. So how do we move this forward if both sides are at this kind of an impasse?
Well, so you're asking difficult questions, Scott, and I would like to have the answers for all of them. But let me just tell you that President of the United States has, a lot of truthful points, and you mentioned a lot of them. It's very difficult to reach any kind of ceasefire or peace when both sides are not agreeing for any kind of compromises. Let me just talk for the people of Ukraine. I don't think, I was writing in my blog for a Substack that I don't think that there is any kind of united point of view on this matter. And you should understand that at least the third part of Ukraine is struggling every day. It's like literally hell. And I'm from Kherson, one of the regions that is being shelled every day with artillery, missiles, drones, and air-guided bombs. And I have relatives there. And I also, work and talk to the journalists and people from Kharkiv and Zaporizhia and Chernihiv and a lot of people from Donetsk and Luhansk. And I feel like they have different point of view than those people who live further to the west and are not sheltered so much. And I feel like many of these Ukrainians, they would like to agree for any conditions to stop dying and, to have some kind of diplomacy. But, diplomacy works. When diplomacy really works, then the shelling, is silent. I think we need someone really smart and committed here to peace. And I'm not sure I'm the one to answer your tough questions today about the compromises.
We're talking to Iulia Mendel here on Mornings with Richard Cross. I'm Scott Sands. What is the attitude of the people of Ukraine? And it may vary region to region depending on how attacked they are by Russians. Are you feeling less support from the United States and from your allies? And is that discouraging? How has that affected the morale of the soldiers?
Yeah, I was talking to people from the military and also military general staff, and they said that they noticed the disruptions in delivery of weapons, and that played some role. Let me just say that all Ukrainians, we all rely on our military because they are committed, and we saw how our soldiers, grew up to this war to be professionals, and we don't doubt in their commitment. But when it comes to our Western partners, we see commitment from many sides, but we don't see the unity. And unfortunately, there is this huge gratitude because we wouldn't make it to 2025 unless, Western countries wouldn't stand for us. So it's not like, I'm not saying this with gratitude, but obviously, there is no unity, and obviously, we do not get enough now. But it's not the problem only of Ukraine. Let me just extrapolate this, because what I see that many Western countries, European countries, say that they even do not produce enough weapons and ammunition to stand against Russia. And Russia is advancing here too in production of military stuff. So this is not the problem of Ukraine only. I guess this is already the problem of the countries who stand for democratic ideology and who stand for the norms that we all have developed since World War II.
This may be a difficult question for you to answer, but would the
not the first
peace
from
talks
you
be able to move forward? You're used to it after the last few years of you and I talking. Would the peace talks be able to move forward more quickly if somebody else was in charge of Ukraine? I mean, President Zelenskyy has suspended elections. He's been in office longer than he was elected to serve. Should there be a change in Ukrainian leadership, would that help progress the peace talks perhaps?
That's a very good question and very unpopular, I might say. President Zelenskyy has just started his 7th year in the office. quite a lot. No other president of Ukraine has stayed for such a long time. And, I know from inside that there are plans for having elections, but it's not very easy to organize. So it's all about the people of Ukraine, and it's all about the ability of Ukrainian leadership actually to organize the process so that people can vote.
Her book about her time as press secretary for President Zelenskyy is The Fight of Our Lives, My Time with Zelenskyy, Ukraine's Battle for Democracy and What It Means for the World. It's available on Amazon. Iulia Mendel, it's great to see you again. Stay safe.
Thank you, Scott, and have a good weekend, everyone.
This Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, available everywhere, streaming audio and video at supertalk.fm. Scott Sands, find me on X at Scott Sands Media.